Hey, what's up, guys? So, obviously, still in spooky season. So, we're going to go over kind of my, I guess, go-to movies that I enjoy watching during, October and Halloween season. Without further ado, let's kind of get into them. They're not really going to be numbered by any means or anything like that. These are just movies that I really like to watch or I enjoy watching, especially around Halloween. Obviously, these movies you can watch anytime. I mean, it's always a good time for a horror movie. But obviously a lot of people are more focused towards horror around October or Halloween, obviously. So let's get into them. The first ones I kind of lumped together, just because I feel like, yes, you can put them one by one, which, I mean, I'll show them one by one. But with that being said, it seems these all kind of are just classics. So I'm just going to kind of put them together. We'll grab them right here. Luckily, because I have my movies out, and behind me, on my shelves, I can actually show you guys the actual physical copies now instead of posting them, screenshots or whatever up here in the corners. So first up, obviously my favorite, Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. I wish there was a box set for this. I wish we had the Scream Factory box set just like we just got for Friday the 13th, and also the older one for Halloween. Obviously, we got the other Scream Factory 4K, so that's definitely an upgrade. But this is literally just, it's just a Blu-ray. There's nothing. This is small. So, Scream Factory, hopefully you guys can deal with those copyright issues and all of that and get something like that out. Fingers crossed. I know they've been trying for years. Next one is just going to be Scream. Obviously, a classic. I feel like Wes Craven really can't do wrong in horror. Obviously some of his earlier movies maybe not as good as what they were or what they are now, but I think they're all kind of classics or cult classics at least. So next one, I feel like we're all gonna know where we're going with this, but Halloween. This is the 4K Steelbook. Obviously Scream Factory put out all the 4Ks as well, but just the slipcover alone is pretty awesome. And then obviously you get the back, and you get Laurie and all that. Let's not talk about Halloween Ends in this video at all. But either way, awesome steelbook, awesome movie, definitely a classic like we all know. And then again, Friday the 13th. All of these right here are just classics. These are staples for horror fans, Halloween fans, anybody watching movies in October. They're going to watch these regardless. So obviously I kind of tried to group them together because anybody knows Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Ghostface. Like, those are just, everybody would know them. But let's get into some of the nitty gritty. Some of these you guys might know just right off the bat. Some of these I think are pretty popular titles. And then also some of these are maybe kind of B-level, I guess. Or I guess maybe just people don't know about them as much as, Freddy and Jason and all of them. But first up, Trick or Treat. I feel like this is one of the really big Halloween movies. Obviously, it's a horror anthology movie, and all of those little stories kind of grouped together to form a big story. Directed by Michael Dougherty. He did Krampus as well. So maybe we'll do a horror movie Christmas edition, which would be pretty fun. I think Krampus obviously would be up there, and among other ones involving a killer snowman, but we'll get there when we get there. So, Trick or Treat, great, definitely watch it. Another one I think definitely gets slept on is 1408. So, it's a little short story by Stephen King, John Cusack, Samuel L. Jackson in this. Basically, it's like a haunted hotel room, obviously, room 1408. John Cusack's character goes and basically kind of busts all these ghosts and haunted house places and stuff like that. It's like he wants to debunk it, and then he writes a book about it later. So obviously he goes to this room, gets trapped, crazy things happen. It's got some good jump scares. It's got some just good creepy imagery with it. I think this movie is definitely slept on. It's a good short story. If you haven't read the short story, go read it. I'm not exactly sure what book it's in, but I know it's one of his short stories I think it's got 5, maybe 6 stories in it. But either way, definitely should watch the movie and then read the short story as well, because both are really good. Next one, I feel like this is really Everybody should know this as long as you're a horror fan. If you're not, you'll get introduced this for the first time. And who knows, maybe you'll love this movie. I love this movie. An American Werewolf in London. Obviously, I got the big meaty box set from Arrow. I think this still has the best werewolf transformation ever. Rick Baker did an amazing job. And, I mean, to this day, it literally looks like you're just watching somebody transform into a werewolf. It's insane. So, if you love practical effects, watch that movie. It's crazy. Plus, just the ending gets insane. There's a lot of gruesome kills. There's actually some comedy sprinkled in there here and there as well, especially with the friend. Something happens to him and he kind of haunts him throughout the entire movie as well. So definitely watch that movie. It's really awesome. Next one, I only really kind of recommend the second movie of this trilogy, but you should still watch the first if you enjoy it. So Evil Dead 2 is what I'm recommending. I really think Evil Dead 2 is basically Sam Raimi did the first one, had no budget for it whatsoever. He knew there was a couple things, a couple scenes in that movie that he really didn't like or didn't want to keep in a sequel. So this movie is kind of, Evil Dead 2 is almost a revamping of the original Evil Dead. It kind of, if you watch Evil Dead 2 by itself, it's going to be a regular story. It'll stand alone. You don't need to watch Evil Dead 1. Basically, he just gets more money. So he kind of wanted to reintroduce Evil Dead 2. I really think Evil Dead 2 is the far superior movie. I feel like hopefully a lot of people would agree with me on that. But regardless, you can watch both of them. They're both enjoyable. They're both creepy as hell. But I think Evil Dead 2 overall definitely has better makeup effects, better story. There's a couple of storylines or kind of scenes that definitely get taken out from the first one just because it seems more off-putting than really anything. But regardless, watch the second one, watch the first one, get crazy with it. Watch the third one, watch Army of Darkness. That one is great too. It's a lot more horror and slapstick, or comedy and slapstick I should say. But regardless, I mean the trilogy alone is great. Hell, watch the TV show Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 1, 2, and 3 as well. I think I got that right up there over in the corner. But yeah, either way, watch them all. They're great. I know my horror heads are probably going to pick this one up a little quicker, I guess, maybe, than other people. Obviously, this is a smaller movie, but it's going to be as above, so below. This really is, I mean, it's just a group of people that go in the catacombs down in Paris, and obviously some crazy shit happens, and it's really almost just like they keep going down the layers of into hell. And I mean, this movie, I will say this movie, if you are a big fan of horror, watch this movie. If that's something you kind of, you want to ease into and you want to watch something else that's not as crazy, but this movie does, it will kind of haunt you after you watch it for the first time. There is some really creepy, scary imagery in this movie. So I wouldn't really recommend it for somebody that just wants to get in. I did just post a video down below. I think it's like my last video or the video right before that, where it's like friendly horror movies that you can get into, kind of beginner movies. This is more of like expert level, I guess you would say. It's really kind of dark and twisted, but still really good movie. Next one, I feel like a lot of people are going to know, but we'll just kind of get into it. The Strangers. This movie is really, it's how you do a home invasion movie. It's really good. It kind of eases you into it. You get some creepy kind of here and there, and it really brings suspense is why I really enjoy this movie. It's nice to kind of watch a movie, and it's almost a slow burn. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, not a lot happens. It's just really building up to the story, and then the third act really kind of hits you right in the face. So definitely watch this. Second one, it's enjoyable, but honestly the second one turns more into like a slasher. You know, it has like that 80s vibe, which is enjoyable. I enjoyed the movie overall, but I think this one's definitely going to be a little bit spookier, I guess you can say. More suspenseful, more eerie, kind of creeps you out a little bit more. So we got 3 left here. I know I got a nice little stack here of movies, but before we do this, if you could just like, subscribe, Comment down below. Have you seen any of the movies so far? The other movies that I'm about to show you, have you seen them? Do you like them? You know, do your own list down below. Do a top 10 list of movies that you want to watch, or movies you haven't seen before, or anything like that. Leave it down there. You know, we can chat down there as well. You know, critique my list. Maybe there's movies you don't like. Maybe they're not scary. Maybe As Above, So Below is nothing to you. So, regardless, let's get into the last 3. So, obviously, Dario Argento had to make this list somewhere. Suspiria, especially on 4K. This movie is beautiful on 4K. If you have the chance to buy this, I think this is probably going for around $40. It's definitely a steeper price, but it's a small boutique label that put out the 4K, so they didn't put out a lot of copies. But either way, definitely watch this. The colors in this movie, the way Dario Argento shoots it, this movie's great. I don't really want to get in too much into the story because I don't want to spoil anything. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. This movie's amazing, especially the soundtrack alone. It's great. So, next one, again, I feel like it's just a classic. The Thing by John Carpenter. Obviously, everybody knows practical effects. I mean, I just enjoy practical effects. I think they look great. They make your movie look a lot better, and they just stand up. Obviously, if you get some old CGI and it looks terrible, it's not going to hold up, and it's going to really pull you out of the movie. But practical effects, I think, look amazing, and if they're done right, which, you know, there's some really good, Rick Baker, Tom Savini, a lot of them are really good at their jobs, and they make it look really, really real. And obviously, when you're watching a movie, you're going to want to watch something here, you're going to think, shit, like that looks real. Like, I think that's happening right now in front of me, instead of, you know, seeing CGI and whatever. But this movie, it makes you feel kind of creepy. There's a lot of monsters. There's a lot of splitting of people. There's a lot of, like, feeling isolated, and you can't really trust your fellow man, and maybe your fellow man is an alien that's trying to kill you or whatever. But either way, if you haven't seen it, I feel like a lot of people have. You should. But watch this. It's really good. And last one, I think is amazing. It's a South Korean movie, Train to Busan. Obviously, they did not a remake, but a sequel. It was just called Peninsula. I didn't like it as much. It really kind of took away from what this originally was, because this is more zombies, but then there's a lot more story and heart to this movie, especially the characters. This took me the longest time to watch. I was one of those sticklers where, you know, I didn't want to read, I just wanted to watch a movie. And that was kind of, and then I just kept being told this movie's amazing, this movie's amazing. So one day I popped it in, watched it, and by far I was stupid to wait this long to watch this movie. It's extremely good. It's got an amazing ending. It's got a really suspenseful ending, honestly, because there's, you know, are they saved? Are they not saved? Are they going to die? Who's going to die? It's just a really good movie overall. Go watch it. Go watch everything on my list. I mean, I love spooky season. I love Halloween. So I'm going to watch all these movies. I've already watched half of them already, but the other half I'm going to get going on because I still got, 16 days left or so? I can't remember what date today is. But either way, watch these movies. Tell me what you thought about them down below. And then, you know, we'll get into another video in a couple days. See you later, guys.